If you're a business owner, you don't need me to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud-based business system. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/wolf. That's netsuite.com/wolf. Hey guys, JB here, the Wolf of Wall Street in the Wolf's Den in Miami. Got a great guest today. Very interesting, young guy, but's accomplished a hell of a lot and has a lot to say. Ben Soffer, how are you doing today, Ben? Everything good?
I'm doing great, Jordan. How are you?
Awesome, great. So number one, before we started, we had a really interesting talk. He said, hey, I don't want to talk about politics. And I was like, why not? And you're like, well, it's not, kind of relevant to, what I do and, what I'm trying to accomplish. And I totally get that. And then, we started getting into it. What are you not? It doesn't really matter. But the interesting thing that you said, I agree with, is like, really, isn't it just a kind of a personal thing? Like this whole thing that's going on right now, like, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you liberal, conservative? Are you vaccinated? Are you not vaccinated? So what your attitude is basically is like, listen, these are, everyone's entitled to make their own personal choice, right? People should respect that. And, just because you might think one way about something doesn't define who you are. Is that, your philosophy?
Yeah, we're sort of like living in a world now that is permanently an uncomfortable dinner with your relatives at Thanksgiving. It's like you go to those dinners, people are like, oh, are you seeing anyone? Did you see this on the news? Oh, did you see? That used to be like something that people dreaded, right? It's like, oh, you're going with your extended family Thanksgiving dinner. It's like now it's just everywhere. It's like, you can't really have fun when you're talking about those things, and life is supposed to be fun. Right. And I just think that, again, these things are personal choices. I am vaccinated because I chose to get vaccinated. If you or anybody else isn't, it's just not my business. Like, my business is my business, and your business is your business, and we can be friends regardless of our personal choices. So that's sort of my just viewpoint on really everything in general. Like, I do what's right for me and what's right for my family, but why am I to tell you what's right for you and your family?
I guess the question is why do you think this has suddenly happened? For example, like I voted for Trump, right? And I think there's a lot of things wrong with Donald Trump. I disagree with so much of like the way he carries himself and some of the things he says. But when it's politics, to me, it's always about the least bad option. Like, I just despised Hillary Clinton. Like, I despised her. It wasn't about Democrat or Republican. It was just a woman. I just don't like her. Not because she's a woman, just didn't like her. And then the problem was my own mother and I, as you said, we had this massive blow. We didn't even speak for 6 months. Because it got, she was saying things like, and not even directed at me, just like, oh, anyone that votes for Trump is like that sort of thing. Right? So, the reason I'm asking you this is I'm wondering, you being a social media star in your own right, you've done great, you have a huge following. How much of this is because of social media?
It's all because of social media. It's all because news is so incredibly accessible. And in general, like the stuff that's happening right now with Portnoy, I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on with Portnoy. It's sort of in the same vein. It's like people need something to talk about at all times of the day. There used to be a time where you didn't have to think about something at all moments, and now social, you need a new headline. You need a new thing to talk about, regardless of if it's something that's going to sort of push people in the right direction. You need clicks, you need headlines, you need something to talk about. So, yeah, social media and sort of the rise of news and clickbait articles have created a culture where we need to constantly talk about things that are thought-provoking, whether they're positive or negative.
To that end, how much of it, though, is you think a few people yelling really loud? Like, I always get this feeling like when you speak to normal people that you meet in the street, everyone thinks this. Everyone's like, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. No one is that conservative. Or very few people are that passionately conservative or liberal or disagree that much that they're yelling and screaming like it's someone's life or death. It's almost like somehow the global conversation has been hijacked by extremists on both sides of the equation, and it makes it appear that everyone is angry and hates on each other, yet in reality, when I walk around, you don't get that feeling. So do you think that's true?
Of course it's true, but it's the same thing. It's like you don't ever see news reported about how, a person was saved from a fire. You see fire killed 9 people. You don't see news about how there were 1,000 amazing concerts, right? You just see this Astroworld stuff of this horrible tragedy. We love highlighting just extremes and tragedies because that's what clicks. That's what sells. And at the end of the day, that's sort of the biggest problem. The problem is that we're in a world where tragedy and clicks sell.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's always was, if it bleeds, it leads. There was always that idea even before social media. But there's something about this ability for everyone to have a voice. And while in theory it sounds really good, like it makes sense. You say, of course, everyone should have a voice. Everyone should be able to express their opinion. There should be a level playing field. It's what's happened is it's almost like the platforms themselves are purposely amplifying the things that create controversy and hatred. So it's almost like it's not accidental. It's almost on purpose what's going on right now with Facebook and other platforms that are, or they know that if people are hating at each other and arguing, then it increases engagement. So you think it's partly that, or is that not really what's driving it?
I think it's really just the news in general. I think that on both sides, whether you have a Fox News or you have an MSNBC, I think that they're all just jabbing at each other and there's really no middle ground at all. And that's sort of where people go for their news. Like it's just, there isn't a middle of the road conversation for every day. I think that's also what it is. It's like, we don't have to talk about the current affairs and state of the world every single day, but news networks need to run every single day. They need to print every single day. So on either end, you're going to develop a story every single day because that's how they make their money.
So in a case like Portnoy, do you think that what he's doing is correct? That he's publicly fighting back and publicly, you believe he should be doing that?
He has no choice. Like again, it's just, at least from what I understand, they're trying to cancel him really badly. They're writing headlines that are really clickable when in reality what's going on in the story is not factual. You have to go after people like that. Like in the end of the day, people get canceled left and right for things that, if you do something terrible,
right?
If he raped someone,
he would be arrested.
No, he should be. By the way, I love that this idea of cancel is what it should be. You should be in prison,
right?
Like if you rape someone, it's not we're taking away your money. It's you're a fucking lunatic,
right?
You deserve to be in prison,
right?
Like it's not like all of a sudden the narrative became about like, oh, we're not spotlighting you on TV anymore. It's like, well, no, you're a bad guy, but that's not him. So like you can't lead with a headline, Dave Portnoy accused of rape when he didn't rape anyone. That's just, it's defamatory to like the highest degree. It's a crazy thing. So I love that he knows how strong his audience is, how much they want to, you know what I mean? Go to battle for him.
Right.
He's one of the only celebrities on the planet that I think can get a community to rally behind him to fight a news organization, right. Which is why I find it very interesting.
So I don't follow it that closely because I don't really care. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like I saw it happened to a very close friend of mine, mm-hmm. where a girl cried, like, rape. He did. The next day she's texting him, "How you doing, baby? When am I going to see you? I miss your face and your eyes." And that annoys the shit out of me because there are legitimate monsters and animals out there do things wrong and deserve to go to jail. Yeah. And when someone makes a claim like that, like to me, it's disgusting. When someone is going to cry rape or foul and then text the person the next day, that to me is like the lowest of the low. Really, it's really bad.
Yeah, it is.
And it happened to a friend of mine, and it did destroy his career. But that being said, do you think is he winning the battle right now? I don't follow it that closely, or is it like is the jury still out?
The problem is he's winning the battle within his own community. He's probably not winning the advertising battle because the advertising battle has nothing to do with Barstool following. Yeah. The advertising battle has to do with the news outlets that we were speaking about before,
right? And
sort of the other people. Like, believe me, there are now people that are emailing all of his advertisers, not just
how could you be
associated with him,
right?
And these news outlets just want nothing. I mean, these advertisers want nothing to do with it.
Right.
They are it's not only apolitical, they just want nothing to do with it, which makes perfect sense. Like, why would a Red Bull want to be associated with any kind of travesty or any kind of just anything bad?
Because it's not true.
For sure.
Because it's not right. And in other words, the thing what's bothering me somewhat is that the fact that these brands are allowing people to be canceled that don't deserve to be. The fact is that you shouldn't just cancel a guy because some girl says something.
For sure.
We live in the United States of America, and it's fucking insane. Now, if he did it, that's obviously, it doesn't deserve to be canceled. He deserves to go to prison, right? It's a very, very different story.
Yep.
So as bad as all that is, and I think it's terrible, right? And that could have never happened to me, because I think I've been married in my modern. It goes back so long, my craziness. Yeah. I also whatever happened, I paid for it if I go to jail many years ago, right? So, but yet you grew your business in a very positive, funny way. So while you think that the whole world is about this negativity, but yet the truth is there are many, many people out there. I'd say the vast majority of people are not relying on bad news and finger pointing and negativity and controversy. You built up your business by making people laugh, right?
Yeah.
So again, I'm wondering, is it like we seem to always be the headlines are dominated by this shit.
Yep.
But in the real world, what is really happening? Is those headlines really, are they representative of the larger picture of what's going on?
They're definitely not representative of the larger picture. The larger picture is that people don't give a fuck, and they want to just have a good time, and they want to laugh, and they want to come on social media and sort of get an escape from their life. Like that's what I've always wanted to do. Like my favorite comedian of all time is Larry David. Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, this idea of this relatable humor. That's what memes are. It's just every day. There are funny things that go on in the day, and it's much nicer to laugh at those things and create connections one-to-one. Like, I don't know, do you wake up in the morning and Q-tip your ears?
No.
You don't. So you're not a Q-tipper.
Not a Q-tipper.
Okay, so one that does Q-tip their ears would understand that feeling is almost euphoric.
My ex-wife was obsessed with Q-tipping my ears. And it was
Q-tipping your ears?
It was like a science project to her.
It
was a fucking science project.
No, I mean, but that's women in general.
She wanted to put the spelunkers, the miners hat on with the light and shit,
Yeah.
So no, I'm not a Q-tipper myself, but I've been Q-tipped, violated in a very, very intimate way with a Q-tip.
Whatever. If you were a Q-tipper, you'd know that it feels borderline euphoric. There's an addiction in this country to Q-tipping, and it's something that feels amazing, and that's not something that one would normally say to another person, but it's a common thing. It's like you Q-tip.
It's like auditory masturbation, basically. Right?
There was literally a meme that was like Q-tipping is better than sex. It's like that feeling is just orgasmic in the ear when you fucking Q-tip, and that's just.
How did you get started in this whole world of memes?
Probably 8 years ago, me and my wife. Social media didn't exist. We got on Instagram. We started making memes. It was a platform meant just for photos. Like, I don't know if you remember the old Instagram. There was no direct messaging. There was no video. There was no nothing. And we were doing something different that nobody else was doing. And the old Instagram, the way that it worked is every time a celebrity followed you, let's say Miley Cyrus had 5 million followers. She follows you.
Right.
Every single one of her followers would see that she followed Boy With No Job. And they would jump over. So much easier to grow then.
Right. It's
so
right
much
now,
easier.
It's very
much
difficult.
harder. You have to. That's the way the platforms work, though. They open it up. It's really easy to grow. It's happening with TikTok right now. It could grow like wildfire, and then wait 1 year. It'll all be about paid ads. They'll suppress the reach of influencers or celebrities trying to grow.
Right.
And they'll make you pay for it. So that's what's happening on Instagram now. But then it was just we were funny. It was great. There was zero intent. That's something that I always say also. It's like if your goal is
to grow,
become famous on Instagram, that's not going to happen. Like either you have to be famous for something and then make an Instagram, like yourself,
right?
Or you have to not try. You have to be funny. You have to make great art. You have to, you know what I mean? Like you have to have something to be followed by people as opposed to just
So this is wanting
a following.
This is an important topic. I think for some reason. Everyone wants more followers. I have a lot of friends. They're not famous. They're not trying to be famous, but they still say, I'm trying to grow my followers. Like, people want to grow their followers, and it seems like a very, very difficult thing to do these days. Very on Instagram, right? Not on TikTok. You're right? So you are an expert. So what would you say to people that are looking to grow their followers? Is it a lost cause at this point?
Why would be my first question.
Let's just say, let's get past the why.
No, because the why. Can I tell you why the why is important?
Sure.
The why is important because if your goal is selling product, focus on the community you have and make them stronger. You don't need more than 100,000 people to have a really fucking successful business. If 100,000 people are buying your product, you're loaded, right? So why are people obsessed with growing to 200? What exactly is the point? They think that brands will pay them more money if they have more followers. But when a brand comes in and sees that you have 10 million followers and you can sell one fucking burger for Burger King, they're never coming back.
So, but if you have 1 million followers, it doesn't mean 1 million people are buying your products, right? In fact, when you do a post these days, only a small percentage of your people even see your post now, right?
Absolutely. But if you post over the next 6 months, you could end up reaching your whole audience. Probably 80%. I'd say 20% of audiences are just dead.
So I guess the question is, how does a average person that's just getting started grow their followers?
Post a ton. So to your point, I'd say that on average, people's posts get viewed anywhere from 15 to 30% of their audience on any given post.
Okay.
Post as many times as you can. It shouldn't be shit. So post good stuff, but
how many times a day?
3 to 5 times a day and 10 stories every day.
Also, 3 actual posts
in feed main... posts? Yeah. Because the same way, when you post something, you'll see likes, comments, shares. The shares are somebody sending your Instagram post to one of their friends in their inbox. It's like a personal recommendation.
Right.
Sometimes they follow you, sometimes they don't.
Right.
And the ones that don't follow you are now going to follow you. So the more times that you post, the more opportunity you have for your content to be slid into somebody's DMs that didn't follow you already.
Right.
So in-feed's more important than stories for sure, because that's what's shared.
So it's just volume, and is there some sort of like, is it humor these days? What's causing people to grow, or is this all sometimes art, artistic stuff?
It's anything. It's art. What are you good at? Like find like what you're better at than other people, and go in 100%. Like, are you an amazing artist? Like, find a creative way though to show that art. Like, it's not just there are a million amazing artists. Is it you're painting with, like, I'm looking at this painting. Is it like you're painting with, I don't know, you're making that like out of fruit. Like maybe she like mashed up the nectarines at the bottom and is using it as paint. Like, is there something different to what you're doing? And then that's TikTok in a nutshell. It's repeating the exact same thing over and over and over and over again.
That's a sad excuse for a painting, by the way.
It is
terrible, right?
No, yeah, it's not great.
I took it down. It was like when I got the house. It was here. It's got to be going to the fire. I think. I don't even think it's signed or it's so bad. The person didn't bother to sign. I'm not gonna fucking sign that thing. Right? They didn't bother.
No.
So, was there a moment for you like where everything started to take? Like, did you struggle for a while and then, or you just came right out? You were early in the game and bam, it took like a rocket.
Early. I would say that I grew to 1 million from zero in like the first 4 years. Like, it was, and they were like big chunks. Like, I would grow 500,000 a year, which is a lot of followers for somebody that, again, I built it out of nothing. It's not, there's no clout behind it. There's no growing a following from 0 to 1 million over 4 years when you're creating yourself is a really great cadence. That's the other thing. People are looking for instant gratification of followers. Why do you deserve to grow that fast? Like, what have you done?
Right.
Like, unless, again, there's a person, a story, a reason.
Right.
Otherwise, you're creating a brand. Brands aren't built. You don't go to 1 million followers overnight for no reason. You got to give them a reason.
So now, did you work for, I saw you work for Gary.
Yeah.
So how long did you work for Gary for?
4 years. I worked for Gary. I love Gary.
And how was that experience? No, I don't really know him personally. No.
You'd like him. He's a great guy and very, very, very smart.
So how was that experience? What did you learn from that experience with Gary?
I learned a lot about social. So I would always see it from the creator side. I would never see it from the brand side. And that's sort of why my past career was just advertising and building brands and working with talent for brands. And so I got to see what is a client looking for. I know what an influencer is looking for. And it made it very sort of symbiotic. So Gary he's definitely a mentor. He's a great guy.
And then how many years were you there for?
4 years.
And then you left what year?
I left there in 2017. Did another job or two, again, same field, and then started this Sprit company. It's called Sprit Society.
So tell me about Sprit Society. What exactly is Sprit Society? Is that your passion right now? That's what you really...
Yeah, so Sprit Society it was a concept. I loved Aperol Spritzes. I realized that nobody had properly made one that was in a can, and also Americans don't like it. It's made with an aperitif, so it's a little bit more bitter. Americans don't like bitter. Americans have always liked sweet. So
can you show me? Is that a can? Check it out. Well, let's see what we got here. Hold on.
Yeah, so this is the grapefruit variety.
So is that which one should I try?
I think grapefruit's the best. But do you like grapefruit?
Yeah.
You gotta like grapefruit.
Okay, so let's see.
But you'll.
My wife loves Aperol Spritz.
Well, then she'll really love the blood orange. But the idea is to create 4 wine-based canned cocktails that are sparkling. When you pour that out, it sort of looks like a rosé. It's like a light pink.
Right.
When you pour out the orange, it's orange. Pineapple is yellow, and the lemon is like a cloudy Gatorade color.
Okay.
But I didn't like anything in a can, man. That was it.
Percentage?
6%.
6%.
So it's more. I just didn't like seltzers. That was really it.
Right.
I saw the rise of them. Like, I get it.
The hot seltzer, yeah.
Yeah, like, did you ever go to a bar and order a vodka soda? Like, maybe
I did not.
Yeah, so that's what I'm like. I personally, I would go to a bar. I would either take a shot of vodka or tequila if I'm trying to get fucked up.
Right.
And if I'm trying to enjoy myself, I order a cocktail. Like, there's no, why am I watering down and making it more difficult for myself to get drunk unpleasantly? That was what always vodka and tequila sodas were for me.
Right.
So the idea that it's the most popular category in the U.S. didn't make any sense to me. So I thought canned cocktails were next and made Sprit Society.
So when did you launch this? It says established 2021, so recently.
Launched it in August. Had the idea 2 years ago. Raised money the last 12 months. Launched in August. And we're about to be... We're right now only online at spritsociety.com.
Okay.
But we're going to be in... I haven't told anybody this. But we're going to be in wholesale in December in California, Florida, and New York. We're going to be in every BevMo in California and the vast majority of Total Wines in Florida. We're entering 250 liquor stores.
Nice. How is it going so far? Really well? I mean, how's the response?
Yeah, the response is amazing. We sold out of our first production run in 4 weeks. Went back in to produce our second, or producing our third in a month. It's doing very well, and the best part is people love them. Like, love the way that they taste. Like, that was, sure, we have a marketing machine behind us. We could push anything. I could push T-shirts. It doesn't matter. I wanted to push something that I was proud of, that I loved, that I sort of birthed, and I love drinking them, and people love the taste. That's sort of like the most rewarding part. People.
So what's the goal of, like, you looking to eventually sell it to a larger company?
The goal is...
You have a plan in mind here?
Yeah, of course. So the goal is build a really amazing brand. Build a brand that people fall in love with. If down the road that happens to be acquisition, amazing. But I feel like if I plan for acquisition, I'm not going to build the best brand possible. I'm going to build a brand that's higher velocity, meant to sell. And the goal is to build something delicious that has a really strong message behind it of community, and that the marketing is on point and the packaging is on point. And if somebody big wants to buy it, fantastic. That would be a great end.
Now, are you using social media and everything that you do and memes and stuff? So what's the marketing strategy that you're using for this?
The marketing strategy right now is this beverage was built out of my community. So I sent a Google form to 10,000 of my followers asking their opinions on logos, flavors, can design, ABV percentage, and I called that R&D group the Sprit Society. So the name comes from my audience birthing this product and then selling it back to them. So that was sort of the launch strategy. And now
what's the limit with alcohol that you can have here? Is there a certain
before in terms of like where you can sell it?
Yes.
6% is it.
It's 6%.
Yeah. So I went as high as I could possibly go to still be able to be in Target, CVS's in New York.
Right.
Like the laws are very different. But 6% is the highest.
All right, listen, this is a message from my favorite sponsor, Netsuite, an awesome company, part of Oracle, Larry Ellison, a legend. They're the best, right? So here's the deal. If you're a business owner, you don't need them to tell you that running a business is a tough thing to do, right? But you might be making it a lot harder on yourself than you have to be. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. It's time to upgrade to Netsuite. Time to stop paying for multiple systems that don't give you even close to the amount of information you truly need to run your business the right way. Ditch the spreadsheets, all that old software you've outgrown. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you the visibility, the control over your financials that you need, your HR, your inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything all in one spot, instantaneously. Whether you're doing $1 million or hundreds of millions in revenue a year, you can save a ton of time and a ton of money with NetSuite. You want to join over 24,000 companies who are using NetSuite right now. Let them show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/wolf. Schedule a free product tour now at netsuite.com/wolf. That's netsuite.com/wolf. All right, want to grow your business, diversify your content? You're not going to find a better tool out there than Melon for your live streaming needs. Blazing fast response time, low CPU usage, all available right in your browser. Go to melonapp.com/wolf and start streaming today. Do you think that, like, right, so everyone, it's like there's this sort of roadmap now, get a following, and then just start launching. It's like, launching products. Mostly, like, I see a lot. This is unique, right? This is different than the average hard seltz. But, like, is this like sort of like is there like a playbook everyone is using now with this stuff right now? There's so much of this stuff coming out. I like this because it's definitely a bit different, right? But is someone teaching, like, who is out there right now? Because you look at the world and, like, there's massive, like, shortage of employees now. It seems like either the world is trading crypto, the world has become entrepreneurs, which I think is a great thing, by the way. Because I think that the whole way I was taught the world works was like, go get a 9-to-5 job and, try to slowly build success and wealth over time is kind of bankrupt in the modern. I don't think it ever really was for real, but we were taught that it was real. So what's going on right now it's like you're 29, right? But it just seems like even younger than you, like with like this whole expectation is really no longer about going and getting a job and, taking the traditional route. Is that fair to say, or is that just a misconception? I see just a few rising up.
I think you see a few rising up. I think that the core of the United States still needs to get a 9-to-5.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Of course I do.
But
in terms of the influencer, like in terms of celebrities and influencers launching products, they saw one person do it, and now everybody wants to do it. Because in the end of the day, we've built these audiences. The authentic ones will be able to sell product. The inauthentic ones won't be able to sell product. And in the end of the day, it's far more rewarding to build and sell something that you made versus taking a check from a brand that you might not believe in. I did my best always to only partner with brands that I liked. But in the end of the day, if it's your sole source of income, you know how many fucking influencers and celebrities are peddling product that they could give two shits about? How much more rewarding is it to peddle your own product? It's like you actually made it because you like it. Like, it's not a...
Why do you think it's so difficult right now for people to hire? Like, it's a real major issue in the United States, right? Abroad too, but especially here. What do you think it is? You know that generation. It's like, people in their, 18 to 35, right? Yeah. You cannot hire people right now. What do you think it is?
I think that people want skin in the game and need skin in the game. Like I think long gone are the days of you taking a 9-to-5 at a startup or a mid-level company that isn't like, sure, if you're talking about the biggest companies in the world, even the biggest companies in the world, give employees some stock options on day one. Like, I think that what you're really just seeing is they don't want a $50,000 check because if you live, I can only compare it to New York. I live in New York.
Right.
Kid coming out of college, they're offered a $35,000 a year job.
Right.
$35,000 after taxes is absolute dog shit. They can't live.
Yeah.
They can't eat. They can't. And the whole point about being in New York is that you want to go to bars, you want to go to restaurants, you want to have a good time. Like, these kids can't make any money. They're realizing that if they hustle, they can make more money doing something on social media. So I think it's that you're exactly right. It's like that middle portion of the $35,000 to $75,000 no longer makes sense for these people because they're working insane hours. They have no upside in the business, and they think that they can be creative and make it elsewhere. Some of them can, some of them can't. And when you can't, you sort of then go into those jobs. And the worst part about that person is now they're really demotivated.
So when you worked for Gary, you worked for his company for 4 years, right? Yeah. What were you thinking? Were you thinking, all right, listen, I know this is not like what I want to do, but I want to get experience. Was it an experience thing for you?
I was learning. I didn't know that wasn't what I wanted to do. At one point, I thought I wanted to launch an agency. I thought that I wanted to launch a social media agency, an influencer marketing agency, an advertising agency. I've always been able to sell. Like, that was just something that I thought was a decent path. And I don't know, every job that I've ever had, like if you're not learning, then I really don't know what you're doing. Like if you're taking a small paycheck to not learn, you should go into finance or do something else. But these like media level jobs, like the pay is terrible, but if you learn something, you could really turn it into something much bigger.
It just feels to me like the world is broken. So there's something right now in the world that's just not working. And we see that, and I think things like we can't hire people is a symptom. People like a Portnoy being canceled, symptom. Even someone like Trump getting elected, symptom. Like I think like these things are just like there's something that's beneath it. There's like this incredible shift right now where it's like suddenly people are waking up and saying, wait a second, like, you know, the way the world used to work was kind of like a fraud almost. And like, I don't want to be part of that. Like everyone's like rebelling against the system. And in some level, cryptocurrency represents that, in like almost like the sort of like the overarching theme is just like anti-establishment. Don't trust the centralized institutions. Do you think that's true, or is it just, you know, a lot of greedy people running around trying to make a quick buck on crypto? Is there something more to it than that? And there's this whole, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Like the world just didn't.
I do.
I've been around for a long time, older than you, right? I have never seen the world the way it is now. And I've lived through 3 or 4 bubbles. I lived through the 87 bubble, I lived through the bubble that happened in 99, I lived through 2008, right? But there's something different this time. There's something, it seems like the world is never going to go back to the way it was.
I think that there are 2 things. I think the first thing is the same way that we were talking about news before, where the loudest are the ones that we start to hear. I do think that specifically on social, there is this narrative of people not pursuing 9-to-5s and being more entrepreneurial, when I think that actually the rest of the country is still very comfortable without taking risk. Like being an entrepreneur is risky. Like your 9-to-5, while it may be sad to some, is not risky. You are collecting a paycheck. You have health insurance. You can start a family. It's not maybe the dream for me. It's not maybe the dream for you, but there are many people, and I still think the vast majority that really do like it. I think, though, that there is this loud community of people that are starting to make a lot of sense and opening people's eyes. Like, I weirdly was pre-dental in college. I wanted to be a dentist. And you did? That's funny. I wanted to be a dentist, probably because my mom and dad like pushed, like, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a dentist, whatever. My best friend's dad.
And my exact story, too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Monster dentist, this guy. He had 3 Bentleys, 10 practices. He wasn't a dentist.
Right.
He was a businessman.
Right.
And it took me a while to realize, this was long after I stopped wanting to be a dentist, did I realize, you know, you don't have to have a dental degree to be a dentist. You can be a businessman, own 50 practices,
right,
and everybody else can sort of operate and clean teeth and fill gums and do fillings. And you can own dental practices and be in the dental world without ever going to dental school. You just got to raise money, have a good idea. And that's like that problem that people are starting to expose that you're talking about, that the people that are actually doing work are underappreciated and underpaid. That's the piece that I think is going to permanently change the way that this world operates. Because even in every regular job, it's like, okay, the main guy is not working. And that is frustrating to the people that are clawing to make money for that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I guess it's like the pandemic was this like moment in time where it sort of stopped. Everyone pushed the stop button.
Yep.
Right? And then they introduced new ideas like stay home, and we're going to pay you more to stay home than you normally would get to go to work and get paid, right?
Yep.
So then, obviously, why would you want to go to work, right? Mm-hmm. So they introduced that, you know? And at the same time, this idea that you can be more efficient working at a distance than in person, which I think is fucking nonsense, by the way. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it work. I've seen it work, but not as... It's always, to me, better when people are working in person, except in very rare occurrences.
Agreed.
Right?
Yep.
And I just wonder, though, is like, do you think it's part of a plan? Or it's just fucking accident. There's a whole thing, one giant accident, and just life happening and witnessing it. And it's almost like, you could take anything and make it into a pattern and retrospectively say, oh, so they did this and that. Was it just like, is it a plan, or is it just like fucking the shit's like fucking evolving, and what we're trying to make sense of what is basically senseless?
Yeah, it just happened. I think that we're just adapting to what is
So reactive, essentially.
100%. I think that's it. I think the craziest thing to me that's happening, which nobody's talking about, is you're working remotely,
right?
And we're paying you the same salary if you live in New York or if you live in Florida.
So why would you live in New York?
Why the fuck would you live in New York?
I just moved. That's why I'm here in Florida.
Yeah, well, because if you're making $100,000, or you got to make it higher. You're making $400,000 in New York. You're keeping 180.
Right.
In Miami, you're keeping 300.
Yeah.
And you're doing the exact same job.
Yeah.
Either from your couch or from your waterfront view by the pool.
Right.
And it's just, that's the scariest thing. It's really going to, everybody's like, New York's going to come back. New York's going to come back. I don't really see how New York comes back unless either taxes change or work from home changes. But if you're letting people work from wherever, there's no longer this office camaraderie. There's no longer working together. You can do everything in a silo. Right. I would obviously prefer to live in the Bahamas than to live in New York. It's just like such a weird, because you can go and visit New York whenever you want.
Right.
Like, why, if you could work from a beach and make the same amount of money?
How familiar with Web3? What's going on with Web3 right now?
I don't know what that is.
Web3 is sort of the creator community, the metaverse.
I do
NFTs,
know. I know the metaverse. Yes, that stuff I know.
Right?
I didn't know it was called Web3.
They were calling it Web3, meaning it's like essentially like, giving power back to the creators, essentially. So right now it's all centralized on platforms. And they kind of hold you hostage, and they can they dictate. They're the gatekeepers, essentially, of who makes money and who gets seen and who doesn't. Web3 is far more decentralized and far more about empowering the individual versus the platform.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that? Are you part of it at all? Do you have any
No.
You're not part of it?
No. I can't, again, like my focus right now, that's another thing just for anybody trying to either launch a business or start a business, focus. Like, just focus on one thing. People ask all the time, can I make you an NFT? Can you do this with this coin? It's like, I have time for my personal brand and I have time for Sprit Society, but I don't have time to do more than that. I understand it. I think it's certainly here to stay. I think the idea of crypto is that anybody that doesn't believe in crypto, I think, isn't thinking logically about the entire world. Like, the reason why third world countries are third world is because they don't have access to banks in the same way that we do. All of a sudden, you have a currency that is global that sort of doesn't get affected by inflation. It's just a singular, the dollar is the Bitcoin is the Bitcoin. It's not the dollar here versus the dollar there. The Bitcoin is the Bitcoin. So I think that instead of introducing third world countries to banks and cash, they're just going to skip a step. They're just going to jump straight to Bitcoin. And so I think that idea of making the world, and it's the only opportunity for us to have a world that's on an even playing field. And that's why I think it's so interesting. Now, will banks let it happen? That sort of remains to be seen. I know that we see all the time that they invest in it, but they would be silly not to invest in it. It's more of a hedge.
Right.
I don't think, though, that like a Goldman Sachs necessarily is excited to just see you later. Like, I think that it's more just like, God forbid it happens, they're protected for this new world. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting.
Do you have any holdings yourself, or you don't invest in it yet?
No. At one point I had some Bitcoin. I sold it. For fun, I bought some Dogecoin. I sold it. I don't like holding on to things that are just, to me, they're just super, or they were super volatile. I think that if one were to buy Bitcoin, it seems like a very logical thing to buy. It seems like it goes up. And if you listen to Jack Dorsey, he's like, it'll go to $1 million, but you also just never know. Are people just pushing their own agenda? It's like, it's funny, like insider trading is acceptable online. Like, what is the difference between insider trading and buying a fuck ton of Dogecoin and then pushing your agenda to 10 million people to buy Dogecoin only to then sell and have the thing plummet? That's my biggest fear. It's like, these are all pump and dump schemes.
So I think it's a very good point you bring up. And I think one of the reasons why people embrace cryptocurrency, even myself on some level, is that I know it's a scam. In other words, like when I say it's a scam, meaning I'm aware that there's all these things going on, that there are these pump and dumps going on, or rug pulls, they call them. Yep. I'm aware that my ability to make money in any given currency is based on more people buying it after me.
Yep.
That there's not someone building a business beneath it, and also there's not Goldman Sachs or any other company in there that knows far more about it than I do. In other words, the problem is that when I invest in the stock market, I know I'm investing in the ultimate rigged game that is rigged heavily against me, and the only way to make money in the stock market for you're an individual is to buy the S&P and hold it and reinvest the dividends. If you're out there trying to trade against professional brokerage firms, they get it's
gambling.
It's just it's not gambling. It's worse than gambling because they have information you don't have. They're constantly inside trading, okay, but they pretend they're not.
Yeah.
With crypto, it's out there, and you correctly said it. It's like, wait a second, these people are breaking the law, and it's like out in the open.
Yeah.
So the point is, because everyone knows that, it's a level playing field for all. It's a shit show, but it's the same shit show for everyone. But versus the shit show on Wall Street is a shit show where some people have a massive advantage. In crypto, there are people that start these shit coins. That's what I'm talking about. That's criminal behavior.
Correct.
I'm talking about something very different.
You're talking about the Bitcoins, the Ether, the legitimate coins. Agreed.
People, and a lot of us still going to go to zero one day because that's just the nature of new ventures. But I'm talking about the legitimate ventures where people are trying to do something awesome and reinvent the financial system. I'd rather invest in that and play the game of which one I'm going to be the early adopter of one where I feel like I'm a professional investor, right? Everyone knows that. And I don't feel like I get a fair shake on Wall Street. So I think all these kids that are out there, they're speculating, but they say, you know what? We all know the same shit's happening. It's not like they know something we don't know. That's, I think, is a huge thing. And I think what's going to happen, I'm guessing what's going to happen is there's going to be massive regulation coming into this over the next, I would say, within the next 3 to 12 months. You're going to see the governments, collectively, not trying to squash it, but trying to regulate the greatness out of it, of what it is right now. And ultimately, my guess is that you'll have these two systems running side by side. You're going to have decentralized banking system and a decentralized financial system, and there'll be on-ramps and off-ramps between the two. So, for example, the best metaphor would be like, you have Android and then you have iPhone, right? And they exist side by side. One's open source, so the Android, anyone could use it, right? And that's sort of decentralized. And iPhone is like your centralized. Apple makes everything. They control the whole ecosystem, which is like your centralized banks. And then you have the Android, which is everyone else, right? Alternatively, you have times in history where there's two competing systems, but only one survives. For example, you know what VHS is?
Yeah, of course.
You're just barely old enough. Someone's like, ask a 10-year-old, what? What's a VHS?
Yeah, no.
But do you know what Betamax is?
No.
Okay, right. Well, that's because Betamax was the better version of VHS.
Interesting.
But it lost.
Yep.
So when I was growing up, you had two machines. You had Betamax, which is higher quality, and VHS, which was lower quality, but they had a better marketing strategy. So VHS was the Android, was the decentralized one. Anyone could use it, but anyone could make a VHS machine, while only Sony manufactured Betamax recorders. So in the end, they were the Android, they went out, and Betamax disappeared. You go back to even maybe a little bit after that, you have Blu-ray versus Laserdisc. And Blu-ray won, and the other one fell. So you get it? So it's interesting, but I think in this particular case, it's not going to be either centralized wins or decentralized loses. I think you're going to have these two things running side by side, and the government's going to try to tax it, control it, and sort of squash it as much to level the playing field with centralized institutions. That's my guess. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great take. I think that, and I agree with everything that you said as it relates to legitimate coins. The thing that I was talking about that's fucked up is you go on TikTok.
No, it's fucking.
And it's a guy. No, but I'm saying it's a guy with 10 million followers saying buy Shiba Inu,
so
and
bad.
then they'll show you this thing where there's a guy that owns.
So bad.
There's a guy that owns. It's something like $5.7 billion worth of Shiba Inu. And all of these, you know how TikTok works. You like one video, all of a sudden you're only fed this shit. So now I'm seeing all of this, and all the conversation is he can't get out his money. And of course you can't get out of your money because it's a scheme. It's
so terrible.
Yeah.
And the worst part is I complain to TikTok about it.
Yeah.
Every time I report these videos, and you know what they tell me?
What?
They don't violate the community guidelines.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like I stopped doing it because every time I did it, they just didn't give a shit. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't violate these people are out there literally pumping up shitcoin after shitcoin. It was really bad for a while.
It's still really
I think
bad.
It's gotten bad again, but I just don't even like. I stopped.
Maybe you just don't see it.
Well, I stopped using TikTok.
Got it. Yeah, no,
I used to go on it a lot more.
It's bad. It's all this coin's going to go to this by next week. Like if you had gotten in on Shiba Inu in April, you'd have $25 trillion, and it's forcing, especially because the app is for kids.
Yeah, sure.
That's the funniest thing. It's like, right? Like, so alcohol advertisers, I'm not on TikTok. I don't go on TikTok because really you still have a majority of people under 21. You can be on TikTok, but it's a little weird advertising. You don't want to advertise liquor to kids. The same way you really want to advertise pump and dump schemes to kids. These kids are. These kids are. No, I'm saying these kids are literally taking their allowance and putting it into Shiba Inu. There's a million of them, a billion of them putting in $10.
Yeah.
One guy pulls out the rug. It's just.
That's the dark side of it all, and I think the only good part is that. Remember, the wheels of justice grind slowly, but they do grind forward. So despite these people have not gotten in trouble yet, there's a very high likelihood that in the next 3 years...
Yeah, they will. They will.
There'll be a knock on their door, and some major celebrities who are pumping this shit up are going to get in massive trouble, as they should, because it's really fucked up. It's very different, though, than this... Like, I meet all these engineers, and they're out there, and they're so passionate about, and they're doing stuff like that really is cool, you know?
So there's so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
So much cool stuff.
So let's go back to Spritz, all right? So when I look at something like Spritz, right, I say, okay, good, tastes good, right? Mm-hmm. Nice label, right? How do you differentiate this in this incredibly noisy world that we have right now? Everyone's hawking a brand. I don't mean that you're hawking. I'm saying everyone is doing that, right? Yeah. You're an expert marketer, okay? So for all the people out there that want to either start businesses or, launch some sort of product, what do you believe is the way you can stand out? The average person, yourself, right? You weren't famous, right?
Yeah.
How do you stand out when you launch this? Did you make other influencers your partners, and it's like sort of a bunch of influencers getting together?
No. So the step one is, and everybody uses this word, authenticity. But most people that use that word aren't authentic. You have to truly be authentic, and you have to have an audience that trusts you. It's the exact same way that I said I don't need 10 million followers. Between me, my wife, her sisters, we have like 6 million on Instagram, and that is more than enough to start the base of a brand. Brands then build the way that brands build, especially like liquor companies. You scale doors via wholesale. You have to have a solid brand. You introduce it to wholesale, and then you use traditional marketing tactics to move it from 2 to 10. But the most important step is 1 to 2, and our core audience and being authentic and using authentic tactics works. So I'll give you an example. So I cook all the time. I have like a chili recipe that people love. I make a mean tuna fish. Everybody loves my tuna, but nobody knows how to make it. And so what I did last week, this is just an example. I said, order a variety pack of Sprit Society, use code CHILI, you'll get 10% off, and I'll release my chili recipe to you. It may sound stupid, but to the people that know me and want my chili recipe, it wasn't stupid. We got 400 people using code CHILI on an $80 variety pack because people wanted the chili recipe. So it's about building an authentic community and striking the chord with that audience that is mutual. It's like that one-to-one connection. You want something from me, I want something from you, and together that thing weirdly was chili, and it'll be something else. And for another influencer, or for another celebrity, it's all about creating a one-to-one connection between their audience and your product. Like, how can you make it something that there's something in it for them? Right. So often you'll see, and this is why most influencer products fail, it's, hey, I launched this skincare line, buy it. It's like, why the fuck would I buy your skincare line? Just because you told me that it's better than somebody else's skincare line? Like, no, like buy this skincare line, give me a chance over the other competitors. And let's do a meet and greet. If you're nice enough to take a chance on me and buy my new skincare line, then I'm going to meet 500 of you and we'll do pictures and we'll have a conversation, or maybe we'll do a Zoom. So much marketing these days has lost any kind of mutual benefit because you can't beat a big guy by just saying, try my product. There's probably a better product out there.
Right.
Not than this, but in general.
You know
what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just.
So where does someone find this? Okay, so what's the best place for everyone who wants to find Sprits? Where do they go?
So for today, you'll go to spritsociety.com.
Right.
And you can actually use code WOLF for 15% off anything on site. So if your audience wants to try it, we very rarely discount the product at that level. But in case they want to try it, it's use code WOLF.
I'm sure most of my audience are drinkers. So I taste it's really good. And I love the energy. I love what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
And I wish you massive success.
Thank you.
Closing words. What's your advice for all the people out there right now? You know, I have listeners of all ages, but for people out there that right now that are just feeling a bit sort of disoriented about the way the world seems to be just like on its head. What's your advice for people in their 20s, 30s trying to go out there and be successful? What do you say to them? Just
focus on yourself. Focus on yourself. Focus on your family. Listen to your inner circle and stop asking everybody for advice. If I went to 100 people and said, should I start an alcohol company? You know how many people would say it's a crowded space, don't do it?
Right.
You're going to get discouraged. Everybody's going to discourage you because everybody wants to play it safe and everybody's jealous. The number one thing is if you think you have a great idea, talk about it with your close circle, 3 people, your family, and go and do it. But it's just in general, if you sort of keep those horse blinders on, focus on you, yourself, your life, what you're doing, your politics, your whatever it is, focus on yourself, don't get distracted, and you can really do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a business. It can be, if you want to be a doctor, keep it straight. Don't stray.
Good.
That's
so
right.
What's the website? Is it Sprit Society?
spritsociety.com.
All right, everyone check it out. I like it. It tastes great.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Yep.
All right.
Appreciate
all the best. Good luck.
You too.
Thanks.